Let's dive into the world of React components and explore the concepts of controlled versus uncontrolled components. Understanding these differences is crucial for building efficient and maintainable React applications. We will see when to use each approach to make the best decision for your project. Let's define controlled components. Controlled components are those where the form data is handled by the React component state. In essence, the component itself controls the input's value through props. Let's look at a code example. We declare a functional component called controlled input. Inside, we use the useState hook to create a state variable called value, and a function to update it called setValue. In the return statement, we render an input element. The value prop of the input is bound to our state variable value. The onChange prop is set to a function that calls setValue whenever the input value changes. This updates the state and re-renders the input with the new value. Now let's define uncontrolled components. Uncontrolled components are those where the form data is handled by the document object model, also known as DOM itself. We use refs to access the current values when needed. Let's look at a code example. We declare a functional component called uncontrolled input. Inside, we use the useRef hook to create a ref called inputRef. In the handleSubmit function, we access the current value of the input using inputRef.current.value. In the return statement, we render an input element and attach the inputRef to it using the ref prop. Let's highlight the key differences between controlled and uncontrolled components. On the left, we have controlled components. With controlled components, React manages the state. They offer real-time validation and predictable data flow, leading to better testing capabilities. On the right, we have uncontrolled components. Here, the DOM manages the state. This often results in better performance and less boilerplate code, allowing for simpler integration. Choosing the right type depends on your specific needs. Let's examine a controlled component example in more detail. Here is the code. We define a functional component called loginForm. Inside, we use the useState hook to create two state variables, email and error, along with their corresponding update functions, setEmail and setter. The handleEmailChange function is called whenever the email input changes. It updates the email state with the new value. It also performs real-time validation, setting the error state if the email is invalid. Here are some key features of controlled components. They offer instant validation feedback, act as a single source of truth, enable state-driven updates, and make it easy to track changes. Let's explore an uncontrolled component example in more detail. Here is the code. We define a functional component called contactForm. Inside, we use the useRef hook to create refs for the name and email inputs, nameRef and emailRef. The handleSubmit function is called when the form is submitted. It prevents the default form submission behavior. It accesses the current values of the name and email inputs using nameRef.current.value and emailRef.current.value, respectively. It then creates a form data object and submits it using the submitForm function. Here are some key features of uncontrolled components. They lead to minimal re-renders, require less code to write, let the DOM handle the state, and simplify form handling. Let's discuss when to use each approach. On the left, we have the use cases for controlled components. Use controlled components when real-time validation is needed, dynamic form behavior is required, complex user interactions are involved, and you need to track every change. On the right, we have the use cases for uncontrolled components. Use uncontrolled components when you have a simple form submission, performance is critical, you are integrating with non-React code, and quick prototyping is needed. Choose the approach that best fits your specific requirements. Let's review some best practices and summarize the key takeaways. Here are some best practices. Start with controlled components by default. Switch to uncontrolled components for performance reasons. Be consistent within your application. Document your choice for team clarity. Here are the key takeaways. Controlled components mean React manages the state. Uncontrolled components mean the DOM manages the state. Choose based on your specific needs. Both have their place in React apps. Understanding these concepts will help you build better React applications. If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit CodeLucky.com for more such useful content.